All right, audio should be good. You guys should be able to see the Nasdaq hourly chart. Welcome back, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. Been a little while since we've done intraday live stream over live price action, so I'm looking forward to it. We have the FOMC interest rate release here at 2 o'clock, so in about a couple minutes, and then at 2:30 we got the conference to look forward to. So with that, we will be doing some tape reading here in the PM session. As always, please do look at the disclaimer, and none of this should be taken as investment or financial advice. This is just my education, or this is education, and just simply sharing my opinion on what it is that I'm expecting. So with that, we have been in a consolidation for the morning, so let's go ahead and get midnight open on here, get our day dividers. So we got a consolidation this morning. We'll look at the 1-minute chart on Nasdaq. So ever since the 9:30 open, we opened, drop lower, and now we've been sideways. So I wasn't trading this or watching this, and neither was my private group at all. I can, and I'm sure they can. We can all think of better things to do than lose money on a Wednesday morning, right? So miss this. Again, this is just amateur hour if you're trying to trade in here. So again, I don't teach my group to trade this at all. We avoid this, and then we wait for FOMC. And not that FOMC, I'm trying to entice us to trade into that or even this day at all. I'm really just here to get more insight with regard to what I'm expecting for the weekly range. So most of this is really going to be aimed at my private group anyway, but you guys are going to be privy to this conversation as well. So right now we've been in a consolidation. We have the intra-week high here and intra-week low here. As of right now, I'm not sure what it is that I'm going to be looking for on the higher time frame because we are in a consolidation. So looking at E-mini S&P, we clearly have buy stops above here that I'm expecting the market to want to reprice into. So I'll go ahead and label that there on ES. So on ES, we have these highs here. A gun to my head, in the next 30 seconds, I suspect we're likely going to dig into that. And then I'm going to want to see how we trade there. And then same thing on Nasdaq, which is the one I'm going to be monitoring. Right now, we're in a consolidation. And from consolidation, I don't like to pick the breakout. I'm just going to wait for that expansion. And then once we get that expansion, then I'm going to have the clarity with regard to what it is I'm looking for. So we have buy side above and sell side below. And I'm going to see which one they use first. And then frame a narrative, frame a bias around that. So we'll go up into E-mini S&P because I suspect they're going to want to reprice into these highs here for ES. Sorry to get on here a few minutes before 2 o'clock. Was running a bit late here on my schedule, and that's usually how my afternoons go. I had to get in my chest and tricep day to day and shoulders. Then I had to get my lunch in between the session and the morning session and getting PowerPoints ready and whatnot there. So I'm running a few minutes late, but it's free. It's YouTube. There's no refunds. So, so looking at this high here, again, we're still in that consolidation. So what I like to wait for is just to let the market leave that consolidation. I'm not going to try and pick the breakout, see which way we're going to move. I don't really need to do that. So I'm just going to see what liquidity pool they run into first. And then that's going to give me a narrative for the remainder of the day. So looking at 2 o'clock, right now we have dollar selling off into its sell side, which would make sense of why we see S&P rally into its buy side. And why S&P? Why not Nasdaq? Yes, Nasdaq's rallying higher, but S&P has the obvious buy side here and here. It has these obvious equal highs. This is retail stop losses here. And that's how I was able to take your attention right to that level before and tell you they're going to dig it up into that. It's not something that's tradable. If not, I would have been trading it. I would be buying and I would ride that expansion up. And there we go. No, fell just short of it. Like I said, as I was saying though, if that was tradable, I would be in that move riding it higher, just as I called it out for you guys. But this is not a move that's tradable, in my opinion, in my experience trying to position yourself within the first few minutes of FOMC or before. You're just asking for asking for pain. So there's the equal highs delivered to you, and then again, that is going to come from that daily chart. So just looking at these equal highs here. So that was the initial draw. So what I'm going to want to see here now is how we trade above these highs here. That's going to be influential for the remainder of the session. And then also taking a look at DXY. So I was getting a few questions on dollar. Ooh, excuse me. All right, so daily chart on dollar. I know I've been getting quite a few questions on dollar. Ahmed, Dylan, do you have eyes on higher dollar for today? Yeah, I've been looking for higher dollar all week, my man. Yes, sir. So we'll go and take a look at that. Good afternoon from Frankfurt. Shout out to Frankfurt. James, hello from Kenya. Big shout out to Kenya. Matthew Davis finally excited to get some action out of this week. Market's hoping to break out. Yeah, and the nice thing is, when you know what we know, we don't have to hope for the breakout. We know time and price, right? So it's consolidating. I mean, not that it just completely went sideways. Let's go to NQ here. Not that it's been just completely sideways all week, but really just aimless price action within this range high, this range low, and we just kind of stayed within that all week. So there's no real clarity here outside of just short, nimble intraday scalps. So because I don't have a good read on the weekly range, I have to see what they want to do based off the economic calendar. So as I was saying, Matthew, to add to what you were saying, we don't have to hope or guess when that breakout's going to be. We know the market switches from consolidation to expansion, and that's going to occur at a specific time of day, which was 2 p.m. That's why we're sitting here. So understanding how that comes together, it allows us to get that confidence. Why are we waiting Wednesday morning and not trading it? Because we're waiting for something very specific, and that's for this time of day here. So the reason, again, as I was saying, the reason I took our attention to E-mini S&P was because it has buy side, like it has clean highs that I can see it's going to want to reprice up into. Not that I wasn't expecting Nasdaq to rally, but it's just not as clean on the upside as was S&P. And if you look, Nasdaq didn't even get close to its all-time high. Whereas here we called all-time highs live, real time, before it even got into those all-time highs. The reason I knew to pick ES was because its market structure is more bullish, right? So I want to be focused on E-mini S&P. Typically, the first move is the fake move on FOMC. I'll go ahead and give you guys that commentary there with regard to what it is I expect. Typically, not always, we typically see what's called the two-stage delivery, and I really like the way ICT has taught this. So if you want to learn more from that, I would suggest going and checking him out, or you can take what it is that I share and how I look at it for what it makes sense. So looking at FOMC, typically the first move is always going to be the fake move. And we know that's just a market truism. Usually if it's going to go higher, it's going to go lower first. Or before it goes lower, it's going to go higher first. So that's what I'm looking at here. And again, that's why I'm not trying to predict the breakout. I just want to see how we trade above these highs here. Do we keep displacing? Or do we hit those highs, reject, and break down? And that's what I'm going to be measuring with regard to order flow, moving into the remaining portions of the week as well. So looking at dollar, and I'll share what I was looking at here. And quite the carnival ride today. One sec, I'm just getting something straightened out here on my layout. I'll go back to what I was saying. All right, so looking at dollar here, we've been bullish this week, looking for higher prices, and then since Monday, the market's just been ripping. So they left equal highs here, and here intact. They left those equal highs. I don't think that's by accident. I do suspect that they're going to want to use that. Are they going to use it today, this week? I don't know. We'll just have to see what it is that we're looking at there. All the way down into the 4-hour chart. Again, we've been seeing bullishness expanding since Monday, or really since Sunday, and we've been bullish. And we saw a key SMT here with dollar and euro, which gave me further confidence. So here euro's making a higher high, and then here we saw dollar fail to make a lower low. So when I sent the analysis to my private group, and I think that analysis should have made its way over to Telegram if I'm correct, when we called the market higher intra-week. I believe that one should have made its way over to the Telegram channel. If not, then just my private community got that. But we were looking for higher prices on dollar based off that SMT with the euro, and then we got that expansion higher. And then they stopped just short of these highs here. So what I'm looking at on dollar, again, I don't try to predict what they're gonna do right at 2 o'clock. I don't need to predict that. I just like to see what they do, and then again, that's gonna give me further insight into the weekly range and what it is I should be expecting. So looking at the H1, you see how they left these equal lows here ahead of taking it higher. That's putting buy stops here. Now they dug down into that. So what I wanted to monitor on dollar is see how we trade here. So we're in a range from low to high, and we're trading into a short-term discount here. So I'm going to be monitoring how dollar trades in its respective discount while keeping in mind all the stacked buy-side liquidity that they left there. And like what the actual interest rates are, like what the Fed chair is going to be saying here in these next few minutes, in my opinion, is nonsense. It doesn't tell you anything. It's just meant to distract you. Because, well, hold on, let me leave you guys off $1, and then we'll go back to just this switching back and forth is driving me nuts. So we trade into a short-term discount of $1, and now I'm going to see how we trade there. I'm going to be monitoring that on my other screen, but you guys should monitor that as well, and also keeping in mind that we have the buy side above. Again, that doesn't mean they have to work into that today. However, it is just something to be mindful of moving forward if we're going to see continued bullishness on dollar, which also be reflected in the yields and everything I teach you guys on Sunday that I do showing you by example. Oh yes, so as I was saying about the data, right? Imagine trying to make financial decisions based off the interest rates, right? When we opened right here at 2 o'clock, the masses or the general population, they're going to look at the market and say, you know what, it was those interest rates that moved it higher. You know, the market was really liking the interest rates and buyers stepped in and they took it into the, that's nonsense. Yeah, it's funny even saying it, right? So I'm not looking at the data. I don't know what interest rates are. I don't care. But again, don't take that out of context. I absolutely do look at interest rates. I look at bonds, and I do it every Sunday for you guys live. So that's the extent of my fundamental analysis. Fundamentally, everything I need to know about the markets is in the charts. So imagine here, how many people were able to read that news release at 2 o'clock, read through the interest rates, look at the implications that interest rate's going to have, read all that, and then make a decision, and then buy this market into the buy stops here like I took your attention to. Nobody's doing that, right? It's impossible to take in all that information, and that just goes to show you the data's garbage. Not that the fundamental analysis doesn't matter long term, but short term, it has no bearing on what the market's doing. And if you're trying to trade with that, good luck, because you're definitely going to need it. So looking at 2 o'clock, they just rip S&P up into the buy side, as I was hinting at. And then again, now I'm just monitoring how we trade there moving forward. So we trade up into the buy stops, and now it's showing a relative rejection there of that level. And then same thing for Nasdaq. And then if Nasdaq doesn't reach its all-time high here, then that would be a relatively significant SMT divergence. So just my internal dialogue, just what I'm looking at now, not secretly giving you the code to take a trade or anything like that. Just tape reading, looking at how I expect this weekly range to pan out. All right, let's go on to the trading layout now. Get the 15, 5, and 1 minute. All right, so right at 2 o'clock, they just sent this thing higher, about 132 points. And that's why I don't enter before, because just here in like a few seconds, you know, you could, you know, in a minute or two, you could be off sides hundreds of points, and trying to trade without a stop or something in this market environment is really difficult. Matthew Davis, here we go. Reverse Uno time. Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do, Matthew, for sure. The days, again, I'm going to be more focused on trading would be Thursday and Friday this week. Those would be the two better days, in my opinion, because then we'll have this release behind us, and then that's going to give us the insight with regard to what I'm going to be expecting for Thursday's daily range and Friday's daily range. And I'm using today to ascertain that information. Peter, did dollar just reverse? I don't know, my man. We are watching all this real time. So we traded below the lows on dollar, which makes sense because S&P's trading, or S&P and Nasdaq's trading into its highs. So obviously they're going to do the opposite of each other. So if I called S&P in the buy side, it's logical we'd want to see dollar sell off. But just because we sold off here, I'm not convinced that like the high's in for dollar and we're going to reverse. These types of moves here are really meant to do that. It's really disrupting sentiment, which people have been bullish dollar. So imagine holding a long position and then you see dollar, you know, scream 300 pips against you. that's going to make you want to get out of that long position, right? So these types of news drivers are intended to do just that right there, with disrupt sentiment. So we have a small fair value gap in here. I'm monitoring how we trade there. 167. Nice. Got a good crowd here. Appreciate you guys joining us. And as always, if you're getting a value, learn something new, or just having a good time hanging out, watching the carnival ride, please do hit that like button. Help us out. Adrian, all good. Keep us safe, buddy. I'm trying to. So looking at the consolidation, again, building liquidity above and below the marketplace. So you take it higher into a premium, into the buy stops. And again, now I'm just interested to see how we trade inside this fair value gap here. Again, this is not a short. I would not be trading now. What I would do would be, if I was interested in trading, I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm going to be trading today. I don't go into FOMC saying, all right, this is my day. I need a setup. I just watch it. If there's something that I like that's high probability after 2:30, really even going into 2:45 and even the last hour. So 2:30 into the last hour, that's that last hour and a half sweet spot that I will take a trade. If the market's one-sided, if it's obvious, if I see what I'm looking for. One of the reasons why I try to avoid it is because the heightened risk involved in a day like today. Like look at the ranges, for example. Like let's say you want to sell short this fair value gap and you have a stop above the short-term high. That's 45 points of range right there. If you don't know what you're doing and you're trading, mini, even micro contracts in this volatility, you can really hurt yourself if you don't respect the risk. So again, that's why I don't come into this day demanding a setup. I'm really just here getting more insight for the weekly range. However, if I do see something I like, then we'll potentially engage that. Gold and ZN. Which one's ZN? It's not wheat, not corn. Yeah, I'm not sure which one ZN is. I imagine gold's ripping with dollar selling off. But again, two-stage delivery. Keep that in mind. So we saw dollar drop initially. And now are we going to reverse this and trade higher? That's what I'm going to be monitoring. So if we look at the hourly chart, we traded into the sell stops. And then remember what I left you off with. Have to pay attention to a lot of details that if you're not paying attention, it can go by you. So we trade into a discount. I said we're going to watch how we trade in that discount. Right now it's showing a willingness to rally from discount valuation. So with that in mind, that could definitely invite weakness in the indices. And as I told you, watch that fair value gap here above market price here. And we're seeing a sell-off from there. Ali, ideally we would want the SMT with ES to hold. Yeah, if we're going to be bearish, Ali, definitely. That's exactly what I'm expecting. That's what I'm in here monitoring. So if we look at ES took out the highs. It made an all-time high. And again, that's why I was calling ES higher and not as much Nasdaq. Not that Nasdaq's not going to trade higher, but I want to trade the market that's going to run for clear levels. And obviously SMT repriced into the all-time highs. Nasdaq not even close. And that's experience. That's knowing which asset to trade. Looking at the hourly chart, though, we traded above the highs, and that would be a key SMT, as you were saying there, Ali, with S&P making all-time highs, Nasdaq failing to. And that's a key SMT as it relates to the daily chart as well. So one of the key levels that I've been monitoring on the daily chart for NQ has been this up close candle. Because if we're going to be bearish, I'd want to see a sell-off from here. So I'm just studying how we trade in the up close on that daily chart. And then let me take a look at Dow. And then Dow also had smooth highs here. I don't really touch the Dow much. So yeah, definitely monitoring that SMT, seeing if it wants to hold. Ahmed, makes sense. We just follow the markets. I agree. It was a tough read on Nasdaq. Yeah, exactly. Not the easiest read on the NQ this morning, and I mean, and even for Monday and Tuesday's trading as well. And that's just because that uncertainty. And you have to look at it from a more professional money management standpoint. What money manager, what fund manager, hedge fund or bank is saying, let's go ahead and risk our customer assets ahead of FOMC because it's lit. They're not saying those types of things, right? So they're not putting themselves in front of risk ahead of these days here, and the market conditions are going to reflect that and consolidate. Not because there's a lack of buying and selling pressure, but because they want to engineer that sentiment ahead of FOMC for a big mover. Because ahead of expansion, we usually get consolidation. So understanding your price delivery is very important for reaching conclusions with regard to narrative, the why. It all starts to make sense when you look at it from that standpoint. So looking at this fair value gap here on Nasdaq, traded up into that, and then it's been doing what? Showing a willingness to sell off, and then trading through this low here. So right here, we just hit this wick midpoint here. So I'm just seeing how we trade there, because if this was the first fake run higher at 230, like the tsunami, the real run could come in, and then we could likely want to work down through these lows. Because if you look at the 15-minute chart, look at all that sell side that was left below here. So if I'm bearish, I want to see them take it higher first. That doesn't scare me. I anticipate it, because now if I was trading this, I'd be riding the reversal short down into the sell side liquidity here. And then potentially looking for some high or low of the week to materialize on this day of the economic calendar. So again, just different things that I'm weighing out, but more so just using this day to get intel for the remaining portion of the week. Danny, what to expect for Euro USD this week? Danny, we've been walking Euro on a tight leash, brother, since Sunday. So if you want to look at my expectations for Euro, Pound, and Dollar, you can go ahead and take a look at what I shared on Sunday, Danny. And if you're not in the Telegram, we do send market updates there as well with regard to what we're looking for in terms of targets and overall bias. And we were dead on with dollar and foreign currency this week. But also, Danny, as I am talking about dollar, you can just flip that upside down. It's going to be the same thing for euro. Ahmed, always a pleasure being live with you. Glad to have you, Ahmed. Appreciate that, brother. Cobra, sold my house to go long Nasdaq. Oh, man. Not trading this? No. Yeah, probably smart. Probably smart. Cody, new here. We look at the market very similarly. LOL, you seem chill. AF, you got my sub. Appreciate you, Cody. Thanks for joining us. I'm glad we look at the markets the same. You know what they say. Great minds think alike, right? Oh, ZN's the 10-year. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I'm looking at bonds. Whenever I'm intraday trading, though, I don't look at bonds as much. I just look at dollar, and dollar gives me a read on what the bond market's doing in a sense. Because if I looked at bonds as well on top of everything else, for me personally, looking at all that intraday, that would be a pretty big distraction. So I just look at dollar, and then that gives me the information I need on bonds. Bonds definitely looking weak though. And then the yield's definitely looking bullish. So seeing the 10-year yield trade into its fair value gap. And what do we have here? Equal highs now. So if we're going to rally on the yields, probably goes without being said, we're likely going to see the dollar rally in conjunction with the yields as well. This is why I don't put any positions on ahead of 230. SK came to work. Thank you for your stream. We'll watch later. Awesome. Daniel, Dylan, is it just me, or has the market's been super weird the past 2 months? Yeah, not easy, Daniel, and that's something that has been universal. So if you feel that the markets have not been as easy, haven't been as clean, there's definitely a reason for that. Especially if you're trading indices. Look at the market structure we've had to work with since the beginning of February. Not to say there's no profitability to be found in this. You can trade it, you can scalp it, but imagine trying to get positioned for like swing trades or long-term trades or have like a weekly or daily bias. It's really hard to do in this type of structure here. So looking at all this consolidation here, yes, the intraday charts are going to move, but what you have to keep in mind is that if we have consolidation on the higher time frame, that's going to be reflected in the intraday delivery, understanding how price is fractal. So yes, as scalpers, there's going to be price runs and setups every day, but still do keep in mind that if the higher time frame isn't clear, your 4-hour, and if you look at the daily chart, there's nothing easy about this. Again, I'm not saying it's not tradable. I'm just saying there's nothing easy about it. And anyone that says it is easy, they're talking out their ass. But Daniel, markets will clean up. Markets move in cycles. So from a consolidation, we will go into an expansion. And again, just considering the geopolitical climate, what's going on in the world right now, that has large speculators cautious. New currencies are being talked about, new system resets, whatnot. Not going to get too much into that. Don't need to be put in timeout by YouTube. But there's just a lot of things going on around the world, right? And investors, large pockets, hedge funds, they're also cautious of the risk in this global climate, and that's being reflected in the price action as well. There's a lot of things to consider. Not an easy time to be a trader. Not an easy time to be a trader. Especially with, again, how the world is now with everything going on. So yeah, Daniel, I concur. 30 years going up. So dollars trading in its respective 5-minute FVG here. So I'm going to want to see how we trade here. If we're not able to get above this, and we're getting into 230 here in about 5 minutes. So if we're not able to get above this here, then we may see further weakness on dollar. However, if we do get above that, I just need to put my cursor there. I don't even need to say anything. If you've been with me, you know what I'm saying. So if we get above this fair value gap after trading down into a discount of that hourly range, this here is too enticing for me. So whenever they leave these highs here, what's that? That's a fake bull flag. Retail traders trying to buy that bull flag, they take it down. And then smooth highs, what's that? 1, 2, 3, triple top. Oh, there's one more. There's a quadruple top. So that puts buy stops above that. So again, for those of you guys that don't know me, haven't been here a while, I'm not picking on the retail trader. It's just important to understand that narrative because that's what makes what we do effective. The reason the market's knifing lower is for the real orders that are below the market here. Sell side here, it's digging into that. So if they took it down into sell stops when we're bullish, then that could potentially set up a repricing into buy stops. So just watching that on dollar and watching that fair value gap there. All right, I'm probably going to stay on Nasdaq here the rest of the time. I do have dollar, S&P across all my other monitors, but just to show you guys, that's why I rotate through. All right, so trading into the 5-minute FVG here on Nasdaq and showing a willingness to rally here. So based off what I'm seeing, fair value gap trade down into that, and it's now potentially using it as support. So 230 coming in about 3 minutes. And then again, I'm going to want to see how we trade going into 230. Dylan, do you ever look into Bitcoin? Yeah, I do. Actually, we nailed all-time highs on Bitcoin a few days ago on Sunday too. I think we were trading in the take a Bitcoin real quick. Yeah, we were trading down here. It just gave a little bit of range, like 5-6K on a run to the buy side. Yeah, no, it's not much to share on Bitcoin though. Anthony, first like, thank you very much, sir. Ali learned how to be patient from you. No more FOMO. Wow, that's awesome, Ali. Conquering that is one more step towards consistency in trading. Glad to hear that. Bar to bar trader. Yep, the Great Reset. Klaus Schwab and friends. Yeah, absolutely. Jay, do you think AI will disrupt trading as we know it? No. AI's only made trading better. AI delivers price to us. The reason I'm able to predict S&P running up into the buy side is not because it's random or I guess the buying pressure. It is real AI that controls this market. So the more efficient the AI gets, the faster that orders are able to be processed, the quicker it's going to run to liquidity. Because when you understand the lifeblood of the market, that it's orders, it's the liquidity in the market, the more efficient these systems get at processing orders, the faster the price delivery is going to be, the more it's going to run to liquidity because it's going to be able to process those orders. So with the benefit or with the growth of technology and AI, I don't fear that changing the markets at all. I think it's only going to make it better and even cleaner. So I don't fear artificial intelligence. So for trading specifically, it's actually a good thing. Is what I'm getting at with the technological aspect. All right, so going into 2:30, about 20 seconds ago. So let's go up into the hourly chart. All right, so if we keep rallying on Nasdaq, yeah, I don't know. I don't really want to call targets higher. Just gonna wait, and I may need to wait until 3 o'clock to get the information I need to see which way we're gonna run. So that's why I'm just patient on a day like FOMC. Retta, do you think NQ will make a new all-time high? We will see. Um, Based off what I'm seeing in NQ right now, I am bearish, especially what we're seeing in terms of strength on dollar. So I'm not bullish Nasdaq as for right now in the present structure. I could be wrong though. That's fine. I'll just get in line with whatever it's showing me. But as for right now, I'm not bullish. And I didn't say it, in very specific plain words, but for those of you guys that have been with me know what we're doing. We're monitoring that SMT. S&P made a new high. Nasdaq did not. If that holds, that's going to be significant. So if the S&P is going to hold, obviously that would imply that I wouldn't expect to see Nasdaq make an all-time high. But like I said, we're in a range-bound consolidation on the higher time frame, daily and 4 hour. So again, I don't have to make a career on calling this market structure here. So whenever it's in that situation, I don't know. My crystal ball doesn't let me see as far as I normally can in this type of market structure here. Do you trade crypto with ICT concepts? No, I do not. No, I do not. I know people that do, but I do not speculate in the crypto market. Hugh Parker, thanks, Dylan. You have helped me so much with patience and risk management. That was one of the last skill sets that I needed to get better at. That's awesome, Hugh, because it is for everybody, brother. It is for everybody. Finding winning trades, that's not even the hard part. It's being able to manage that risk, have the patience and risk management to even stay consistently profitable. So that's great stuff there, Hugh. Leaps and bounds in the right direction, my man. Great stuff. Jay, thanks for the insights. Absolutely. High speed trading equal lows on NQ at 18,234. Yes, sir. You'd be very interested to see the market work its way down into that here, these equal lows. And that's what I've been painting with regard to a narrative, right? Saying it's two-stage delivery. They took it higher first, and then they left all these equal lows here. So I'm seeing the same thing with regard to your analysis, high speed. Christopher, glad to see you live on YouTube. Let's get it. Awesome. Appreciate you joining us, Christopher. All right, so trading inside that one fair value gap that we've been watching here, still holding. Starting to see strength in dollar. So again, watching that 5-minute fair value gap on dollar, see if it wants to erase the 5-minute fair value gap that we're monitoring. All right, so from here, that fair value gap, I am expecting us to sell off into these lows here now. All these lows down here, all the way down to the 18,234 level. Appreciate it, Mel. Thank you, sir. All right, so we're going to have a small fair value gap here. So I want to see if we can trade into that and that potentially facilitate a sell-off down into the lows. That's what I'm going to be watching. Violent repricing here on CPI. So still monitoring how we're trading inside that 1-minute fair value gap. Again, nothing I'm willing to trade just because of the volatility with regard to a day like today. No sound? Yeah, just observing. Just observing right now. Just getting a read on what the market wants to do. All right, so trading inside this upper fair value gap here. And again, just aggressive repricing, and this is exactly why I don't look to trade this day here. So to answer the gentleman, Yasin, why not short? This is why. Because it doesn't matter how good those equal lows look on a more manipulated day, they can take it up another 300, 400 points. Or ticks, so a couple hundred points. Not too crazy. Everyone here Monday morning quarterbacking. Why not long? Why not short? Oh man. YouTube's always a good time. YouTube's always a good time. Moralitos, Powell is speaking very well. Yeah, those people are pretty smooth talkers. They are smooth talkers, that's for sure. Is he coaching up the markets? So looking at dollar, trading inside that 5-minute FVG and completely reversing that to the downside. So looking at, let me show you guys what I'm looking at. So I know a lot of you guys are coming in the middle. So looking at DXY 5-minute fair value gap, again, told you guys that would be a key level here for this session. And it's still respecting that, right? So not able to get above it. So again, there's nothing for me to expect higher prices for unless we could get above that fair value gap. And it's respecting it. And now making new lows. So again, that's why we're seeing higher prices here on indices. Maddie, didn't you miss us? Yeah, sure did. That's why I'm out here. That's why I'm out here. See, so if I was in here trading this market in front of you, right, if I was trying to, go short here, get reversed on, if I was going short here for the lows, which is honestly what I was expecting, right? Once we broke down, we had the equal lows. I was suspecting the market here would want to dig into that. But again, the reason I'm not trading it is for that reason right there. So again, I know where my strengths are and where my weaknesses are. And the reason why I'm not going long here is because this would be considered a weakness when there is manual intervention, which is what this is. It's when they manually intervene with the price action. It's not as easy to read it. The tools that I would typically use, the logic I would typically lean on, is just not as effective in these days here. So understanding that almost gives you like a superpower, because now you know when to push, when not to push, and you're able to protect your equity on these days here. Right, so these equal highs here, likely gonna want to rip into those. All right, so taking new highs here. All right, if we keep repricing on the upside, then we have the buy side here at the 18,428 and a quarter level. So looking at Dow finally worked its way. Did it? Okay, yeah. So Dow finally took out its buy side. So Dow has reached its buy side. Nasdaq has not, and S&P. Hold on, and S&P has. So I'm gonna be interested to see again how we trade at these levels. Looking at the 4-hour chart right now, there is no firm, solid, concrete bias here. Looking for higher prices, but that doesn't mean much on a day like today. Well, that's why I moved away from ICT stuff. Everybody sees the market differently, but happy it's working for you. Awesome. Thanks, Walter. You know, the big thing is, man, just finding what works for you, what makes sense to you. And if you're making money, man, who cares? If you're making money, who cares? Richard, do you ever take live trades? Yeah, trade live every week in front of my signal group. Richard, you've been here since the OG days asking me if I live trade, brother. I remember you. Richard Williams music. Very familiar. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing good. Yeah, Walter, and that's one of the things that I like about ICT's concepts actually is that, there's not just one way to apply them. I can be getting out of a profitable long and someone else can be getting into a profitable short at the same time. I bought, they sold, we both made money, and it's all up to your interpretation. So having that freedom is really helpful. All right, so there we have that buy side on Nasdaq that we were looking at above, hitting that down close candle, using it as support. Dollar is melting. So dollar's trading into its daily fair value gap. Ronnie, how's the signal group going? Would love to join. What's the win rate? Yeah, so that depends on the month. February was not the best month for me, slightly in the red in February, but the month of March has had 2 red days, only 2 red days. So it really depends. My average as a trader is 60-70%. As long as I'm within that 60-70% range, we're talking business. We're talking business. So that's what I'm looking at for my win rate, Ronnie. Kevin, how many trades per week do you typically take? I try to trade about 3 to 4 days a week is what I'm looking at. Ronnie, incredible. Yeah. Just the big thing is understanding, having the right mindset. Coming into a signal service and looking at get rich quick, that's something that's not going to happen. So if you have the right mindset, long-term approach, I always do like to give people the reality of trading, right? And I don't, like, for example, man, I could really run up the signal group if I showed my TradeZella, right? And you guys could see, what the numbers I'm hitting, but that doesn't translate to you guys, right? I mean, if I was a sleaze bag, I could, market my TradeZella out the ass and show you guys, real numbers. But I know that if you join my signal group and you're not disciplined, you don't have risk management, you're never going to hit those numbers. So that's why I don't share that. Man, so dollar sinking, Nasdaq taking off that hourly high. So look at targets above. If we keep reaching higher, but again, still leaving all that sell side below. So that's something that's going to be of interest for this week. Cody, do you trade funded? Yeah, I do. I do. I absolutely take advantage of the funded world. Yes, sir. So if you're interested in the signal service, that would be on our website. Rich, making the daily high right on schedule. Yes, sir. S&P is ripping. Nasdaq as well. So let's keep getting premium targets here for Nas. And the reason why I don't like the trade FOMC is as a developing trader, I've chat my ass on these days more than I'd care to admit. So when you don't see me trading it, I've already touched that stove many times. So I don't try to guess. I don't try to gamble on this day here because you can do considerable amounts of damage. Luckily now most people just stay in funded land, but you know, in the OG days, there was no funded land and reset to save your ass. It was it was your capital. So I've grown in my appreciation for respecting the risk on FOMC. That's why I don't need to trade it. Daniel, hi Dylan. Can we still say here we go reverse Onu time? Yeah, Daniel, you can say whatever you'd like, sir. Matthew, so not really a two-stage delivery. We still have about an hour and 10 minutes of trading, Matthew. So we can ask that question once we wrap up, my man. We will see. We will see. Awesome. Hey, Dylan. Hope you're doing good. How's everything going? Doing all right, Wassim. Doing all right. Staying out of trouble. Staying out of trouble. Hope you're doing good. Matthew Davis, shorted really low leverage because these lows look juicy. Yeah, I've been there and done that, my man. No matter how good it looks, no matter how easy it looks like it is to take that setup into those lows, FOMC will do you dirty. FOMC will do you dirty. And that's why I'm not out here trading it live. Because I know it would make it look like amateur hour here, even on a Dora Trading YouTube channel. It would look like amateur hour if I traded on these days here with you guys. So that's why I just observe. And hopefully at least saving my private mentorship group from the carnage. These continuation models on the 1 minute look juicy, but I know it's all fluff. Yeah. So with where we're at now, given that S&P's down has made their all-time highs, dollar's still ripping lower, showing no signs of slowing down. And dollar is looking like it's working into its equal lows on that hourly chart. So aggressive repricing on dollar. We'll see what we get here for last hour of trading. I usually like FOMC, last hour of trading. Usually that last hourly candle gives me some insight that I'll be able to potentially look for a setup in. But right now I'm just studying how we trade above these highs here. Ricky, Dylan, do you ever get nervous live trading in the signals group where you miss the move or read the market wrong? And how do you handle yourself mentally? Do you just ST? I assume you're meaning stop, I believe. Yeah, Ricky Rod. So with regard to emotions and everything like that, that's part of trading. So what I do is I rely on the logic that keeps me profitable, that gets me there, and just emphasizing risk management. Losing trades are going to happen. That's part of every consistent successful trader incurs losing trades, right? So it's just about how those trades are handled, the risk management. So one of the things that allows me to keep the emotions in check is just trusting in the logic, trusting in what I'm doing, and that confidence, getting the reps with what I've been doing for a while. That's what gives me the confidence to still get it wrong and still know nothing's changed, right? Get stopped out, nothing's changed. The logic still works. It's going to work next week. It's going to work the month after that. And that helps, again, keep the confidence high because, as you said, Ricky, those are all definitely things to consider. Absolutely. Those are all things to consider. All right. So market trading above the buy side here on Nasdaq. And then we got a 3 drives pattern. As you guys know, I don't like the 3 drives pattern, but it's the narrative around it that is helpful for me. So I took out the high here. ES did not make a higher high. So I'm just studying that for right now. Still very much bullish in this market structure. Maytom, hope I'm saying that right. Maytom, I'm new here. Appreciate your insights this week. Has been my least active in trading just because I watch your Sunday review and I'm super happy. That's awesome. That's awesome. Knowing when not to trade is a superpower. It's absolutely a superpower. Because just for example, think of where we'd be at in terms of consistency, in terms of your strike rate, your confidence. If you just avoid these days in your trading here, right? So knowing avoiding these days here, that's a huge confidence booster because now you know to trade the better days, better price action, and you have less of a chance of getting stuck in something like this. Great to hear the feedback. Much appreciated. Matthew, glad I bought some ETH this morning, risk on is ripping. Yeah, absolutely. And ETH, yeah, and then there was even an SMT on the daily chart between ETH and Ethereum and Bitcoin. We see the market trade into the last last up close candle here and fair value gap, and now it's showing willingness to sell off. So we're going into the 3 o'clock hour here in about 15 seconds. So once we get into the 3 o'clock hour, hopefully we'll get some clarity for that last hour candle and tape read a price run. Market just consolidating here above the high. Like we're getting some bull flag action. And then that pink rectangle, you may be wondering what that is. That's just a daily fair value gap. And I extend those through. Taking a look at crude oil this morning. It hit its daily bullish order block. Very interesting. So looking at dollar, retracing here into a key level. We have an inversion fair value gap here. I'm going to want to study how we trade there. So if we're going to remain bullish on dollar and want to work into these highs, Thursday going into Friday, I want to see how we trade inside this fair value gap in here and here. And looking at dollar on a higher time frame, like if you go to a monthly chart, we're still just in a range bound consolidation. So that also adds to the level of difficulty in predicting this market because it's still consolidating. All right, so on the hourly chart, looking at this candle here, just observing, looking at where I want to see this candle expand to, either higher or lower. And then again, right now, I'm not sure. I don't know right now. I need to see what dollar's going to do and what they want to do with the other indices, because keeping in mind, S&P's already reached its highs, and Dow has already reached, zoom out, has already reached its buy side as well. So will the S&P hold that or not? Just watching. But those equal lows that they left below here, that's very enticing. Not that they're going to take it all the way down there today. I mean, they could. But that seems very enticing. So that could definitely give me a later trade setup, maybe later in the week, maybe next week, a short down into those lows, but we'll see. So we've just been consolidating here. Right, so displacing through this high here and closing above it. So may want to work up into that high there. Yeah, and that would be the all-time high. Man, where's that guy that mortgaged the house on the Nasdaq long? All right, so if this fair value gap here lends support, then we could definitely see the market trade higher into the buy side here. Matthew's long on sim. Seeing the same thing. Yeah. Good study opportunity here. See if it wants to trade up into the buy side here. Man's eating his demo dollars. All right, so on a 1 minute chart, it's trading below the short-term low. If it's going to be good, if it's going to be bullish, it can take out that low, but it'd have to sweep that low and then aggressively reject it to the upside. So dollar's still looking weak, and again, that's going to give further is going to give further confidence for higher prices on stock indices. And then for how high above we can go, measure this price leg. So above the all-time high here on Nasdaq, higher than that, I can see us trading to the 18,550 level, and then after that, I'll have to see how we trade there. Ghost in the Machine, Profit and Demo, XD. Yeah, everyone's in a different place in their development. Not trading live money is not the best move, especially if you're learning. Hey Dylan, it's Christian. How are you? Doing good, my man. Hope you're doing good, Christian. What's the move of three price going? Yeah, I'm not sure what you're getting at there, Christian. I'm not following you, my man. The three pattern. Maybe you're talking about the three drives. Maybe the three drives pattern. I'm not sure, brother. Appreciate the support, Christian. Thank you very much, sir. It's more for the ES. Yeah, I'll go and take a look at ES for you. Yeah, Matthew, not following your question, my man. Could you try to rephrase it, and I hope I can get back to you? Yeah, I'm looking at ES right now. Market makers sell. Maybe you're talking about the market maker sell models. I'm not sure, brother. Gus, what kind of rules do you have when it comes to max loss trades for the week session? Yeah, all that's mapped out by me. How much I'm losing in a day, week, trades I'm taking, and all that. But to go over my whole trading plan, that would be a lot for YouTube. But yeah, all that is accounted for. Personally, I do 2 to 3 max, and I'm done for the day. Yeah, that's exactly what mine is as well. Once I hit 3 trades, that's it for me. I don't need to trade any more than that. But yeah, so I really do keep my frequency and my risk low when I'm trading, Gus. I don't need to risk a lot to make a lot. So I keep my risk low. And because of the nature of my trading, because I'm a scalper, naturally I can take, quite a few trades, but I don't need to like over trade in that sense. Oh, I got you, Kristen. Yeah, I think you're referring to the 3 drives pattern. Yeah. Yeah, I'll go ahead and touch on that for you. Matthew, and the Nasdaq's like my girlfriend. Always taking my money. That's a good one, man. That's a good one. I like that. Matthew, I can share later in the Discord. Yeah, if you want to share later in the Discord, I'll go ahead and get to your question appropriately there. Yeah, absolutely. That sounds great. All right, so retracing down into the fair value gap. Last down close here, showing support. So this would be the last time that it would have to run up into the buy side. If it fails to do it here, then it may not do it. But I still suspect when we get above these highs, displace through them, and then get into the all-time highs for Nasdaq, especially if we continue to see weakness in dollar. Thanks. Have a nice evening. You as well. You as well. Thank you. Christian Cadet, yeah, basically three price runs to the upside, taking out buy side, then switching. Yeah, I gotcha. I know what you're asking, Christian. I'll get you taken care of, bro. Matthew Davis, my demo dollars went a lot lower today. Better demo dollars than live money. Better demo dollars than live money. So I would definitely look at that as a win. You gained risk-free experience, Matthew. That's good stuff. Cody, do you typically enter off a fair value gap? Typically, yeah. I'm not limited to the fair value gap. I can use inversions, breakers, and whatnot, order blocks, but typically the fair value gap's my PD array of choice. Matthew, I got stopped out. Yeah, it's not easy to hold with all the typical whipsaw that we get on these days. Because it's aggressive. It's violent repricing on FOMC days. That's why it's kind of like a carnival ride. The gamblers love it. But I don't like to play Russian roulette with my accounts. All right, so it should snap into that buy side relatively fast here from that fair value gap. Christian, I'm gonna wait for the highs to be run into. I still haven't forgot about your question, my man. All right, so we have a new 5-minute candle that just opened. So that little drop lower that we saw in like a 1-minute chart, I'm just looking at that as the wick on a 5-minute candle to expand higher. So whenever market retraces, I just go up to the higher time frame, see why it's retracing. But yeah, Matthew, definitely not easy to trade. I wanted to add to that. Not an easy day to trade, just because the volatility, the ranges, the uncertainty, and there's plenty of days to trade outside of FOMC. It's good for studying, like in terms of like liquidity and efficiency, studying, liquidity and whatnot. FOMC is a great day for that. But with regard to actually trading live money and looking to make profit on this day, it's not easy. It's not easy, which is why it's a day I don't typically recommend or try to push students that I'm training and working with. I don't like to push you guys in that direction because it's just a difficult day. It's a difficult day. There's a lot better, cleaner, more one-sided days to trade than this. You may look at this price and say, "What? That's pretty one-sided." Yeah, but it's the volatility around it that makes it difficult. So what I'm looking at right now is how we trade inside this fair value gap. I'd prefer to see the support price and send us higher into the buy side. So we have like a fair value gap, and then we have a up close here. So I'd look at that as like breaker, FVG. Want us to see us stay above that if we're gonna reprice into here. So dollar's consolidating now, right at its weekly fair value gap. So now there's no need to come below this fair value gap here. We traded down through it, hit the breaker, fair value gap, and now we should rally into the buy side here. Really nasty delivery. Yeah, it's moving quite a bit in terms of points, but the actual price delivery itself is not clean. Not the easiest day to trade. The Dow's making higher highs. Looking for Nasdaq to catch up. So Nasdaq would be like a six sister deal. How Dow and S&P trade up to their highs. Now look for Nasdaq to catch up. So dollar selling off, hitting that weekly fair value gap. That's on the weekly chart, hitting it on the high end, or hitting it on the low end actually as resistance, and selling off, working its way into lower lows. So as we start to make lower lows on dollar, then I would expect that to translate into higher highs on indices. All right, so we're in the 330. There goes dollar making lower lows, washing out into its respective sell side. So lower lows on dollar should be met with a higher high on indices. Taking forever though, and that's just part of the FOMC delivery. Just uncertainty. It can be really fast, it can be really slow, it can consolidate. I've seen a lot of things on FOMC over the length of my career. It's like watching paint dry with this price delivery. Would have liked to have already seen them snap up into those highs by now.
Order filled.
All right, so still expecting us to run into that high, but I'm taking something off there. All right, let me go and get into your guys' questions now. I was just waiting for that high to be taken out. I was going to get into your guys' questions. All right, so looking at the Matthew, LOL, you're trading. Do as I say, not as I do, Matthew. All right, so looking at the three drives pattern, and then I'll get to your question, Matthew. You asked a really good question with regard to taking a step back in your development. That's a great question. That's something all traders go through, Matthew. Let me get to my man Christian's question with regard to the three drives pattern. So three drives is just going to look like this: high, higher, high. And then this is a classic reversal pattern here. But again, the pattern in and of itself doesn't really mean a whole lot. It's more around the narrative and the context around when this forms. So that three drives pattern here is running out all the buy side, facilitating smart money shorts, because just the fundamentals of what we do, the absolute basics, are smart money. They buy sell stops and they sell to buy stops. So as it's creating a high and they drop it lower, high, drop it lower, that's creating people that want to short. When people want to short, they put a buy stop here. They put a buy stop here. They put a buy stop here. So it's taking out all that buy side liquidity. It's purging it all to then set up that run lower. So that's all three drives is. Hopefully that makes sense to you, Christian. If not, I can take a look at that again. Relatively straightforward concept there, though. But it's all about understanding the narrative. Without narrative, the patterns, the models, nothing's really going to be effective without the right narrative behind it. So I just really want to emphasize that point, that pattern is very effective, but it is important to understand the narrative behind it as well, as that's what's going to truly make it effective for you. Ghost in the Machine, good night, sir. All in long MNQ. Hope you took some profits. Kingdom, are you in the balcony? I am not in the balcony, no. Ahmed, did I just hear order filled? Haha, yeah. Too funny. Hugh, hey Dylan, apologies if you've explained this before. What was the one thing that made you say I can trade consistently? What made you become profitable? What made me become profitable was risk management and really just pulling my head out of my ass. And every trader can agree with that has been unprofitable and then has crossed the side to being profitable. It's really just realizing that we're in our own way. And then when you realize that you're in your own way, you have to have rules, you have to have protocols. You're just going to stay in your own way, and you're never going to get to that point of consistency until we can get to that point of saying enough's enough. I have to get organized. I have to be able to follow rules. And then once we get to that point, that's what then allows us to be consistent. Like I knew a lot about the charts and I was still inconsistent. So it wasn't more knowledge. It wasn't more learning. It wasn't anything like that made me profitable. It was obviously a well-rounded understanding of price action, but more so the realization of, okay, I have rules and these rules need to be followed. Because if I don't follow these rules, I'm going to be working for somebody else the rest of my life. And that was enough motivation to follow the rules. Because I do not like to live like that. I can't live like that. Hugh, Dylan. Okay, yeah, answered that question. All right, Matthew. And then last thing for you, my brother. Dylan, I felt like I've taken steps back in my development rather than forward. What do you do when you feel in a rut? That's an excellent question, because that is the trading journey right there in a nutshell, Matthew, which is 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, 2 steps forward, 4 steps back. And it's just constantly that give and take in the trading journey. And it can be tiring, which is why we always talk about we need to have a big why, why we're doing this, because that helps keep us motivated. Trading is not linear. For example, just like ask any doctor, in their 10-year study time, did it always feel like, oh, yay, doctor, no, it probably sucked staying up till 3 a.m. studying their ass off for many years. It probably sucks a lot of the time. So when you look at trading like that, look at a lawyer, look at an engineer, look at anybody that's doing anything of any high pay grade, they had to do a lot to get there. So when you're able to say, okay, this journey is going to be really hard, it's going to be long, but I can make it easier, one, by not losing money. So trading demo, you're already doing the right thing there. Because man, when you're learning and you're just losing live money, it's just like repeatedly getting kicked in the nuts. And it's how many times are you going to keep getting kicked in the nuts until you just stop doing that. So learning the right way is a big thing I'll add there, Matthew. So you're already doing that point. But the delivery we've been seeing the past few months, as I was discussing with the other gentleman here, Daniel, is that it hasn't been as easy. It's not been easy one-sided trading. I mean, the 4-hour chart hasn't been easy. The daily chart hasn't been easy. So I guess it really depends on, Matthew, what are you measuring your results with? Because if you're measuring your results with your profit, how much you're making, early on in the development, you're not going to see a lot of money. So if we're only basing how good we're doing based off our P&L, it's really hard to stay motivated early on. Because again, early on, you're just not going to have that. You're going to have to stick out the difficult journey. So one recommendation would be, Matthew, is how are you measuring your results with regard to progress moving forward? What are you using to measure that? The best way to do it would be, are you learning, right? Are you growing? Is your experience growing? Are you able to see more? Are you more versed in the charts? And that would be a better way to measure that progress, because if you're doing the right things, and everything that we teach, everything that we do on a daily basis is I'm making videos for you guys every day as we're doing all that. If you can say like, wow, and when I started January, I know a lot more than I do now, and if you can say that, in February, okay, wow, it's the end of February, I've learned a lot more than when we started February. And then you measure your results like that, that's going to be a lot more rewarding, because early on, we don't need to lose money in our accounts to realize we don't know how to trade. We don't need to do that. So if you're trying to measure your results off that, it's really hard. So if you just measure it based off the learning and your growth, that's a really good way to stay motivated. Like, wow, I'm seeing more in the charts. And it all goes back to the dialogue and the journaling, right? What does your back testing look like? Is it, rewarding yourself? Positive. It wasn't the easiest day for me today in terms of price delivery, but was able to learn a lot more about myself and why I don't over leverage FOMC days. Just things like that. That's part of growth. That's part of learning. I didn't grow to respect the risk on a day like today until I lost my ass on FOMC days. So, that experience that you got today, a couple of stop outs and demo, that's all part of the learning experience. That's definitely a good way to look at it. And that's going to help you move forward and stay encouraged on the journey of trading, which is absolutely not easy. It's absolutely not easy. So stopping just short of this high here on Nasdaq, and that's classic FOMC. So that's why I don't want to hold for that, because there's a chance it may not deliver it, and that's classic FOMC. So why don't you trade FOMC? Why don't you encourage everybody to go long? Because it may not deliver that target. I know it's a characteristic of today, but I know in my experience, I know to take partials before we get there. So even if it doesn't get there, I'm a paid man. But early on, you're not going to have that experience. You're going to see that high. You're going to say, oh, it better deliver that high, because this guy on YouTube's telling me it's going to deliver it. You have to know how to manage trades. You have to know what you're doing, especially on a day like today, because it can do this. I mean, it can retrace all these points, 50 points lower, and then still trade higher. That's just, again, the uncertainty around a day like today. And then the last thing, Matthew, would just be give yourself time and not basing the results that you're getting in the present market conditions. Because like I said, if you're measuring your success based off, what you're looking at in, your demo account, your demo account may be cratering, because it just hasn't been easy these past few months, and having that in mind is going to help you measure your results in a better way and help you stay motivated. Okay, Christian, thank you. Yep, covered your question. Awesome. The Sandman would like to see price aggressively reprice on Nasdaq in the last few minutes of the market. That's what I'd be expecting. They could run up above that high in the next 5 minutes here at 350, or they could just leave that high intact and sell it off down into the range. Thought it was my trading again without me. McTony's, it was more discipline. Yeah. Christian, of course, if dollar starts shifting and we take out sell side, this will be the last time. Until then, we wait for the move to start. Yeah, I'm flat after that. So I was telling you guys this fair value gap here, likely going to lend support higher. And it still gives about 40 points of range to work with. So that's all I need to pay myself there. Nas just completed the regular trading hours gap from Tuesday, March 12th close. Let me see my regular trading. Yes, sir. Yep, so stopping short of that high. They may want to take it in the last hour. They may leave it till tomorrow. If they leave it for tomorrow, and that'll give me a nice trade opportunity to trade up into. But we'll see. It's the last hour. It's getting late. Gotta wrap up a few more questions here. I'm gonna go ahead and get going. Matthew, bro, was silently trading 10 contracts. Yeah. Yeah, great observation there, Med. Just seeing that on the regular trading. Perfectly hitting that high. Yeah, using those gaps is helpful in terms of visibility. You're able to see things a lot of traders are missing. Great observation there, Med. Matthew, can you elaborate on when to use the 315 versus the 350 to 4 macro? Yeah, it all depends on the market structure. So if you go back through the teachings and you really listen to what I teach around macros and how to know when they're effective, you have to see the market structure around that time. So whenever you're looking at the macro window, like the one I taught when we were looking at the pre-market macro here, and the same thing that applies, it's just the time that's different. So you can take this lesson and walk it forward with any of them. I'm sure there's a faster way to do this, but let me just scroll back here to Tuesday's trading. So here, how'd I know like the 650 to 710 macro was going to give a price run? Because we displaced at that time. So I want to see how price is behaving at that specific time, and that's going to tell me what to use with regard to macros. So again, it's just part of the learning process, Matthew. Just rolling your sleeves up, logging it daily, and you're already doing that part, putting in the work, my man. So as you just keep doing that, the answers to which one, when, will just start to become second nature to you. So would it make sense for me to use the like 315 macro here? Well, I mean, again, FOMC day, trying to do the usual rules on a highly manipulated day, that's going to be a cause for difficulty as well. So I'm trying to explain it within the context of today. And it's not easy because it's a more manipulated day. All right, so that's it for me. Starting to get tired here, so I'm going to get off. I got to Zoom here later at 5:30. So I'm going to go and get going, guys. Hope this one was insightful for you guys. And I'm going to leave you guys off with a brief review here. This is going to be for private group. So my expectations going into the remainder of the session today, but more importantly, moving forward into Thursday and Friday's trading. We have buy side here on Nasdaq and here. So as long as order flow remains bullish, I'll look for a run into there. But if we start to sell off and get weakness, it could potentially run into the lows. However, that's going to depend on what the dollar does. So to determine, as I was saying, indices, we'll want to see what dollar is doing. So dollar has all these equal lows here. That's what I was thinking it was going to run into, but failed to do so. So market dropped here. We have these equal highs on dollar. So it'll be interesting to see what we do. What you do want to monitor on a daily chart for dollar moving forward will be how we trade inside this inversion fair value gap here and then this fair value gap here. And that's going to give me the bias for the remainder of the session. But as always, with the Discord group, I'll send you guys the analysis tomorrow morning, pre-market. So we'll see what London does and then have that insight from London. And then I'll share what it is I'm going to be expecting going into the New York session Thursday into Friday. There's still a few more things I want to see. I want to see how we trade below these lows. And then going all the way back to NQM 2024. NQM. And then going back to Nasdaq, we have equal highs here and here now. And if they don't take that out this afternoon, then that would absolutely give me a nice draw on liquidity for tomorrow. But they may absolutely run these highs here. So then I'd look for this high here on Nasdaq if we keep repricing higher. So it's just a matter of waiting. Looking at the 4-hour chart, we're still inside this range here. So again, I want to see us leave that on a daily chart for me to have clear daily bias. Because as long as we remain in the consolidation profile here on the daily, it's just going to be a scalper's market moving forward. And then until we get that clarity on the higher time frame, it just makes for easier trading. All right, so 350. Yeah, they may use 350 to run it into these lows here. That'll be interesting. All right, guys, that's going to be it for me, though. Cobra, did you use your A+ setup for the entry? If yes, then we took the same entry. Yeah, on the breaker fair value gap you're thinking of? Yeah, Cobra, that's what I was looking at as well. Yes, sir. All right, guys, that's going to be it for me here today. So I'm going to watch how we trade above the all-time highs on indices, monitor dollar. But as always, I'll let you guys know in the Discord what it is I'm going to be looking for tomorrow's session. Give you guys some analysis, give you guys some targets based off what we do in the London session and in the last few minutes of the close here. So with that, that's going to be it for me, guys. Hope this one was insightful. We will look to potentially start getting back on the YouTube more here often. At least once a week, we'll see. But until the next one, guys, I will speak with you guys later. Lows here, highs here, gun to my head, we run to the highs. I'll leave you guys off with that. So with that, guys, take care, good luck, and good trading. See you guys on the next one.